The Oklahoma City Thunder select Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga University.
What a pass. Giddy underneath for JRE. The reverse and the rookie-to-rookie action. SGA defended closely by Westbrook. Tough. Step back. Gets up the shot. Banks it in for the lead.
This is Udart. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, Thunder fans, and welcome to the Uncontested Summer League Postgame Podcast Edition. I am your host for tonight, Taylor Peterson. You can find me at Twitter at Taylor_P15 and Threads and all this other crazy nonsense. But way more important than that, I'm joined by my good friend J.D. Silva. Fella.
We're here and we're on Threads.
We are.
In a way.
The universe did not want us to record this podcast tonight, Silva. My Mac
No.
did not want us to record this podcast. I don't think the Thunder really wanted us to record this podcast based off that performance.
No.
We are here nonetheless as the Thunder end up falling to the Memphis Grizzlies 94-86. Before we get any further, we are a proud part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and dailythunder.com. If you don't already, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. Gosh, there's all kinds of other outlets, but those are the main two. And YouTube is a big one right now that we've seen a ton of engagement with. So we really appreciate all of you who have been tuning into our YouTube channels, the shorts that Nick's been throwing out there. Obviously, our live streams. You guys have been super interactive. It's really appreciated, and we're having a ton of fun with it. We're going to continue to put more and more content out there. TikTok as well, using some of that same content for like the shorts to put on TikTok posts. So we're having a lot of fun with it. We appreciate you guys tuning in. If you can leave us a 5-star rating on any of those platforms, it'd be greatly appreciative. And you can find us, like I said, anywhere: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and now Threads, like Silva and I were talking about.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll absolutely see how it goes. No telling. I'm hearing mixed reviews so far, Silva. You were telling me before we started, it's
there's not DMs. You can't like customize your feed really. You know, it's early.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Early stages, but it's pretty good interface. I did like the interface.
Yeah, another place for us to doom scroll. It'll be great.
Yeah, true.
It'll be great.
It's a Twitter replacement, nonetheless.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is that less than 24 hours from now, actually at this point, 24 hours from now, knock on wood, unless there's any big delays or anything, each of Nick, Jacob, Justin, myself will be on the ground in Vegas, which is really exciting.
That's so cool
for Summer League. And I know, Silva, I'm sad. I don't get to experience Vegas, Silva.
I know. It'll be weird. But you guys will have a ton of fun. And yeah, I'll hop on a show or something while you're there.
There we go. We'll get you in virtually.
It'll be fun.
Won't be the same, but it's for a good reason.
Yes.
Very excited for Silva as he's started a new job here over the past couple of months, and obviously for a very good reason, but we will miss you for sure. But regardless, lots to look forward to as we have some really exciting stuff planned between Blue Wire, between some of the stuff the Thunder have sent us to be able to bring out there with us. So lots to look forward to when we're boots on the ground Vegas. But unfortunately, tonight wasn't the most fun game, Silva. Regardless, I think there's still some things to break down.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe before we get started, what were just some of the biggest things that stood out to you from the past two games, even not even just tonight, but we're in game 2 now of Salt Lake City Summer League. Give me some of your thoughts.
Yeah, I guess the really obvious one is being able to see Chet Holmgren play basketball again. I got to see him in person last year, and I've just become so attached to him, like as a prospect. So obviously his injury last year really, really hurt, and it's been awesome just to see him in a Thunder uniform playing basketball again. Seeing if you can tell, I can't totally tell if he looks different physically, like he's gained weight, but he's obviously just a super skinny guy. I'm just getting used to the experience of watching Chet play and the impact he has on the court at all times, which is seriously feels like at all times he's making an impact because of who he is. And the Thunder just haven't ever had a guy like that. So that's been my biggest thing. I think seeing our boy Chet play.
So spot on. It's so spot on that I even want to save that just because I think we're going to talk a lot about that when we get into Chet's game tonight. Because I again, like to your point, I think it was the epitome of what it's been like watching these past two games. I'm with you there. Obviously, J-Dub was fantastic that first game.
Mhm.
We'll get into that here in a second. Tre Mann's been very aggressive.
Really
And
good.
it was good to see Us do some more promising things tonight as well. Now, before we get any further, already some great comments popping in the chat. We really, really appreciate it. And we will be going through those here at the end of this. We're going to try and keep this one a little shorter, just based off the game, based off it's going a little late here with my technical difficulties. And we want to save a little time for you to be able to go through some of those comments and questions from you all in the chat. So please continue to throw those in there. But Silva, like I mentioned, no J-Dub tonight in game 2 of Salt Lake Summer League. His butt hurt. Glute contusion, out tonight for the Thunder per Joe Masato. And honestly, I think it makes a lot of sense. If this were last season, gosh, so I mentioned all my technical difficulties I've been having with my Mac. All of a sudden, now that it's working, it decided just now to give me all of my updated text messages for like the past 5 days. So it's just ding,
hundreds.
Ding, ding in my ear, like it's nonstop. Ridiculous. I'm gonna see if I can even just like hard quit out of messages. Goodness. Okay.
It was tough not being able to like J-Dub playing in Summer League is a luxury by every account. Like it is a luxury having him play. It's like watching a movie in IMAX. Like it's a better experience. You know, tonight we watched the movie. It just wasn't the same. Wasn't an IMAX. You didn't get the audio, the big screen. So it wasn't there wasn't as much like jump off the screen appeal without J-Dub being there, who was clearly like way too good to be playing in Summer League. But yeah, I assume, do you think he would have played if it was the regular season?
So, 110%. And sorry, it's I still have the constant dings going in my ear, but we're gonna roll with this here.
Yeah.
What I was getting at prior to that, though, Silva, is I think if it were last season in Summer League, it was like, well, they let Giddey play last Summer League and let him even play through Vegas Summer League because he wanted to play with Chet. And my response to that would be that this is another season forward in this trajectory of the Thunder, right? And I don't think that I think Presti is telling him probably that, look, I get it, and I'm so happy you want to play.
Yeah,
but we're taking a leap this season. We signed Vasilije Micic. We are bringing in guys like Davis Bertans potentially, and we're really ready to take that step forward. And we need you healthy because you're going to play a gigantic role in that. So again, if this were last year and Dub was in the same draft class as Giddey, or even they exchange places, I think we probably see Dub get to play all Salt Lake City Summer League as well as Vegas. But for the reasons I mentioned, I think that's probably why they're quote unquote shutting him down. Maybe we'll see him. I mean, again, this is a very minor injury that they've coded. So maybe we don't see him for the rest of Summer League, the rest of Salt Lake City Summer League. And then we see him again for like the first game of Vegas Summer League and he's done.
That's kind of my guess. See him 1 or 2 games in Vegas and then that's it.
Yeah.
Who's the first game in Vegas?
First game in Vegas is Dallas. So unfortunately, that will be the only game that we get to see because they scheduled. So we try to go early because that's when typically a lot of the fun stuff happens, right? Like we're going to be very fortunate to get to see, knock on wood, Wemby versus Brandon Miller, right? Like on Sunday night. That's going to be awesome. Friday night. But because of that, the way they schedule the Thunder, we're only going to catch one game before we head back Monday, which is so stupid, but it's just the way it worked out. So, anyways, to your point, yes, we'll get to see them against Dallas, which is that first game, I believe, Sunday before we leave Monday, which will be a fun one.
Cool.
Jaden Hardy and
a
lot of different prospects. God, thank goodness it muted. I just have had a constant ding.
That's terrible.
Ding in my. It's kind of hilarious in the worst way.
Yeah.
Okay, but sorry, Silva. Moving on. So obviously no Dub tonight. I agree with your assessment completely. I wouldn't be surprised if we only see him like one more time, and probably not the rest of Salt Lake City, but probably that first game, potentially Chet, and Vegas Summer League. So the starters instead was Tre Mann, Jared Butler, Usman Jang, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams. I thought Tre Mann, this is probably a good transition. You mentioned Tre Mann earlier.
Mhm.
He had 13 points in 9 minutes on 5 of 6 shooting. Just like came out extremely aggressive from the very beginning. The Thunder did not, though. Like they were kind of the opposite of that. Tre Mann was
Sluggish.
keeping them afloat offensively, and Jared Butler kept them afloat with a couple of 3-pointers in the latter part of the first quarter. But in the second quarter, they really responded. They go on an 18-2 run over the last 4 minutes, 30 seconds of the half. And Trey had 18 points. Jared Butler had 11 points. Chet had 6 points, but 7 rebounds, 1 steal, and 1 block. Felt like he was kind of all over the court. And that just kind of continued into the second half. I thought Chet came out again a little more aggressive in the second half, similar to what we saw in game 1, which is great to see. But again, it's just that, you see different rotations. And because of that, the game stayed close, but there wasn't anything huge that stood out to me in that second half. Like, a little jealous of our guys, Nick and Jacob, who got to talk about the Tre Mann poster.
Yeah.
Chet going off later in the game. We didn't really get any of that, but I thought Chet was a little more aggressive in the second half, which was good to see. Thought Usman was a little more aggressive in the second half. Also great to see, and just played better within the flow of the offense. And again, Tre Mann just continued to be that steady presence for the Thunder. So I'm not sure where we really want to start. Like I said, there wasn't like anything big that stood out from the second half. Maybe we just kind of go down the stat line here. Usman Jang, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. He had 2 blocks. But like I said, a lot of that kind of felt Silva to me like it came in the second half of the game. Curious your thoughts on Usman tonight, but as well as like these 2 games as a whole.
Yeah, I was happy to see him bounce back tonight. I think he was 1 of 11 on Monday, something like that. Made 1 shot total. I know. I was happy to see him come back and not be. I don't want to use not scared, but I think it would be
timid.
easy to timid. Yeah, it would be easy to not want to mess up if you just went 1 of 11. But he still took 10 shots, made 5 of them. I like Usman a lot. He seems further along than Poku was in Poku's second summer league when he was out there flopping around. I like watching Usman play. I'm really curious how many minutes he's going to get this season and how much time he might spend in the G League. But no, I've liked what I've seen so far. I think he has a lot of room to grow, of course.
I'm with you. It was especially good to see Usman in the second half because I thought his role kind of changed. Saw him score a lot and touch the ball in the pick and roll, like in the paint. And that's so different from what I kind of thought we would see from Usman, where like I kind of wanted to see him a little bit more with the ball in his hands, like we saw back in the NBL. And we saw that some in the first half, but without J-Dub out there, but it wasn't great. And the 3-point shot still isn't falling like I hoped it would in summer league. And again, this is all very relative to the first 2 games, subjective to the first 2 games of summer league, but a little disappointed in Us overall. He just seems like he's trying to fit into an offense, and that's summer league doesn't feel like his best opportunity to do that. I think he's more of a player that will benefit from regular season games, regular season minutes, playing around guys like Shea, Giddey, and Dub, and that will help his development. But to your point, Silva, the issue is you brought up Poku. I think that's a great one. If we had Us 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, just let him have that runway to make those mistakes and have the ball in his hands some and develop, that's a great thing. I'm a little concerned with this season. It's I think the Thunder organization would disagree with me here and say, oh, we can throw him in the blue and all these different things. But even then, I just, I'm not sure that this is necessarily the perfect development opportunity for him with all the different mouths to feed and players to have the ball in his hands. That's just kind of my biggest takeaway from, again, this very, very small sample size of 2 summer league games.
Yeah, he doesn't have the runway Poku had, that's for sure. The team's just a lot better.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally
Just a couple of years too late, but that doesn't mean Us isn't going to be a great player for this team. I mean, again, this is a post-game summer league podcast, so we aren't trying to take any drastic conclusions here. But that's just kind of my thoughts after watching these first 2 games. Now, another one, again, just going down the stat sheet. This is a huge one. Chet Holmgren. You mentioned him a lot early on, Silva. Chet tonight had 10 points, 11 rebounds. 1 assist, but 2 steals, 3 blocks. Unfortunately, he had 6 turnovers 6 turnovers. It was the best and the worst of Chet.
Yes.
Obviously, a lot of impact on the defensive side of the ball, continues to struggle on the offensive side of the ball. What are your thoughts on Chet specifically tonight? And then maybe also just over the past 2 summer league games that he's had.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like even a quote unquote bad Chet game, he still is able to impact. Like his defensive intensity doesn't slip, even if he's playing poorly, because he's clearly working, like shaking off some rust after having missed the last year. And you saw that rust in a big way in the first quarter of last game, and you saw it kind of on and off here. Just like sloppy with the ball, the things you would expect after a guy hasn't played real basketball like this in a year. But he was still able to be a constant presence on defense in a way that I'm just not used to watching. Like I'm not used to having a guy that can drop, but can very quickly jump out to the 3-point line and always be there for a block. He had that massive block near the end of the game with like 3 or 4 minutes left. Is the 2-hand block going to be Chet's signature thing?
It's kind of his signature thing. Yeah, he gets
signature.
that ball. It reminds me of volleyball, and not just me. Obviously,
it's really
that's
cool.
not a unique thought, but the 2-handed block around the rim, it really is, and it's not just even that, but the way that he alters the shot blocking around the rim. Something you mentioned earlier, Silva, is how, and I can't remember the exact phrase that you mentioned, but I thought it was so spot on. It's like even though he's not impacting a game offensively, he brings a new element to this Thunder team that we haven't seen. And obviously, like we're trying to envision this in a team with, instead of Jared, no disrespect to these guys, but Jared Butler, Tre Mann, and Usman Jang, Jaden Shackelford, instead of those players, it's going to be Shea, Giddey, Dub, and I think that's going to open so much more for Chet. First of all, just getting him the ball. I mean, he was posting up down low, asking for the ball, the pick and roll reads. I mean, when you have those kind of guards who are going to be able to make those reads for Chet, get him the ball in that situation, he's going to be set up quite a bit better than he was, I think, in these first 2 games of Summer League. But to your other point, like just seeing what he's able to do defensively and inputting that into the team that we saw last year, that is such an extremely exciting element that the Thunder just completely lacks. So sorry.
And it's such an easy fit
there, but I think you mentioned this earlier on in the podcast. Like I'd love to hear you talk more about that. Like in putting that into this Thunder team.
Yeah, on one hand, it's like the exact thing that the Thunder need is Chet, and he's already displaying what that might look like, albeit surrounded by players of a lesser quality, just to be, just not slandering anybody, but you know what I mean. It's Summer League. But on the other hand, he also fits so seamlessly into the 5-man lineup that I assume the Thunder are going to play next year. So he'll have guys like Josh finding him at any point. He'll be getting open threes. He's not getting a ton of open threes right now, and I think that's a big reason why that shot hasn't fallen. He's having to take them quick, or
it's a little forced.
Right, pump fake and drive. Like he's having to, in Summer League, a lot of guys, if you don't have, like he was really lucky to play with Josh last year, honestly, like opening up. Usually you don't have a guy like Josh Giddey who can kind of command a game out there on the Summer League court. So Chet's just kind of finding his way, and I'm cool with it. I like watching him kind of figure things out and learn from his mistakes, because you can kind of tell he's like actively doing that in every game, like learning how to play through stuff like that. So I think
great. That's a fantastic point. First of all, 2 points there. The point you made about having Giddey last Summer League makes sense that he would struggle a little bit more this season. This Summer League without having a facilitator like Josh Giddey. And that's obviously without the context of the injury, et cetera, et cetera. But the other thing being that, like, we're seeing him adjust. I mentioned him being more aggressive each of these second halves. I thought that's been really great to see. Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned, like he's going to be great as a catch and shoot spot up shooter, compared to just like trying to create his own shot and get those shots off when he has 2 or 3 defenders coming after him, double teaming him.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Kenny Lofton coming after him. But Kenny Lofton didn't get the best of him this year, so that's a positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that narrative is not around right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there is no highlights of Kenny Lofton like just completely trying to body Chet Holmgren out of the lane. In fact, Kenny Lofton really struggled, and a large part because of Chet Holmgren's rim presence, which was great to see. But our friend Derek Parker tweeted these out. I thought they were very, very accurate. I wanted to give him credit because as I realized as I was kind of going through some of my points, I thought they were very similar. He mentioned with Chet, tightening the handle. I mentioned the 6 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't great. He's dribbling the ball very high. And a lot of that is due to conditioning, in my opinion. And also to your point, Silva, like he's not going to have the ball in his hand that much compared to what he is in Summer League. But regardless, got to tighten that handle because that is going to be a strength of Chet's offense. And but only if you can tighten that handle and make sure that that's not going to result in a turnover. Derek mentioned strengthening the base for general skills and shooting form. I get that, but that's going to come along, this season as well as another offseason under his belt, hopefully fully healthy, right? And then just obviously conditioning. Like he's obviously a little gassed, and that's showing. It's one thing to play 1-on-1, in the summer, or even to play 5-on-5 pickup in the gym when you're officially cleared by the Thunder. It's another thing to be in full NBA game shape, and he obviously isn't there yet. So
there's some elevation stuff in Salt Lake City too.
Yes, it's a great point. We hear that about the Jazz. We hear that about the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah,
it's honestly a really good point. So it will be interesting to see, like, does he look a little more conditioned when he gets to Vegas? Mm-hmm. After getting some full court games under his belt and getting some serious minutes. Like I'm looking at the minutes logs here. Usman played 32 minutes. Chet played 30. Jay Will played 27. Butler played 28. Tre Mann played 31. And then Shackelford played 22 off the bench. Maldonado, who I didn't even know before tonight, to be completely honest with you, played 19. And then there was 8 minutes from Caleb McConnell, who I actually really like. We could talk about him if we have extra time. And that was it.
Yeah.
So anyways, we spent a lot of time here on Chet. No long-term concerns. I think is the conclusion we're coming to. He's just working through some growing pains and
he's awesome.
Shaking that wrist off.
He's awesome. Yeah.
Now, one other player, I say that. There's probably 2 other players we need to touch on here. But Jay Will, not doing anything sexy. He's not the guy who's going to get a poster dunk, although he did have a nice dunk tonight.
He did.
Or, is going to go for 20 points in Summer League or anything like that. But he just continues to be consistent in everything he does. 12 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. He had 3 blocks tonight, which was really cool. But you put him in an NBA lineup, he's probably going to have it's not going to be 12 points, but it might be 6 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists and 2 blocks in the same.
A little bit of everything.
And taking the charges. So I don't know. I just thought this was a good moment, especially in a game like tonight, to give Jay Will a little love for just doing the consistent things. And people keep talking about the Thunder needing to bring in a backup big, and I kind of think the Thunder might think they have that in Jay Will.
I agree with you. I think a combination of Jay Will and Poku, something like that. Jay Will is just playing his role. He's kind of doing the JRE thing that we thought would happen, where it's just that you put him out there and he's playing his little mini Al Horford role, dishing out from the top of the key and taking open threes. And a lot like Al Horford, he loves to pump fake at the top of the key and then drive and then pass out of it. I love Jay Will. I think he's playing really well. He looks comfortable out there. I like the hair. He looks bulkier to me, more toned.
He does look like he's put on some weight this offseason as well. Some good weight. Some Or maybe
he's awesome.
In Jay Will's case, maybe he's slimmed down.
I agree. Yeah.
But you're right. He looks more bulkier.
More mobile. Yeah.
But no, I agree. I think that's a perfect description of Jay Will's games here the past 2 Summer League games. Jared Butler, just quickly, he had 16 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. It's good to see him get more of an opportunity, especially with J Dub out. I'm curious. I could see that potentially being another 2-way contract. Again, the Thunder now have, not just the Thunder, all NBA teams now have 3 2-way contracts available to them per the new CBA moving forward. Unless Butler gets a better offer, I would not be surprised if Butler's brought back on one of those 2 ways alongside.
Yeah, it makes sense for sure.
But I thought he's been playing well, especially tonight with J-Dub out. And then the big one here is Tre Mann, 28 points, 4 rebounds, but he had 28 points on 10 of 14 shooting, 71% from the field, only 33% 33.3% from three. But he just continues to be more and more aggressive. I will say, like, this is kind of a double-edged sword for me, Scylla. I'm curious your thoughts on this. I love seeing Tre Mann be more aggressive and do this. This is exactly what we wanted to see when we saw that Tre Mann was going to be on this roster, right? He's done it 2 straight games. He's been more aggressive. He's shown that he's more capable than some of the other less experienced players he's playing against in Summer League. With that being said, this is what he should be doing in his 3rd year in the NBA with 3 years of NBA experience against less experienced players in Summer League. So how much can we take from this, right? I mean, it's just, again, it's like a double-edged sword. It's very tough to take away from what Tre's doing because this is what we want to see. It's what he should be doing. But what does it look like in a real NBA setting and within the setting of this Thunder team? Like, we got to talk about, like, plugging Chet into this team. Again, I'm rambling here, but I'm just kind of curious your thoughts about Tre Mann tonight and these past 2 games.
Yeah, I feel similarly to you as far as we kind of know Tre can do this in a setting like this. Every time he goes to the G League, he does this, and it's like, wow. When he's confident, he looks awesome. Then he's showing confidence here. That's the biggest thing for me is he's immediately showing confidence, not afraid to take shots. A lot of times he gets separation and then doesn't take the shot. But he's doing that here decisively, and it's cool. Summer League is a thing where I always see a tweet that goes around. It's like Summer League rules. If a player you like is playing well, it means he's going to be good, and if a player you don't like is playing poorly, it means they're going to be bad. And I feel like with Tre Mann, I don't know. It's kind of an eye of the beholder thing. Like, if you could look at this and make an argument that, like, oh, he's improving, he's going to be better next season, but ultimately, I'm kind of at a wait and see point with him. I like the decisions he's making. I feel like decisions can translate to the regular season. It's the shot making though for Tre. Like, is he gonna get he's not gonna get the on ball reps that he's getting right now, and a lot of his stuff is coming from on ball. So we'll see. Maybe he will get on ball reps.
I think you absolutely nailed that. No, I think you're spot on. Yeah. The on ball reps will not be there for him.
No.
And one thing, and again, this is so hard, and like I don't even think it's fair to me to completely critique necessarily. I'm just bringing it up because this is a Summer League postgame podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like, in a nutshell, I'm not saying this is necessarily applicable to Tre long term, but he hasn't been playmaking nearly as much. And like I said, that is so hard. No disrespect to Jaden Shackelford and Maldonado and Caleb McConnell.
Yeah.
Like, it's very different when you're playing next to Shea and Gideon Dub, but we've seen him in those situations, and he's not a playmaker, to your point. So it's great to see him be more aggressive and be able to score these points. And but I'm just not sure it fits very well within the concept of this team. So I think this is a really interesting one to monitor moving forward. There was a lot of talk, or I say a lot of talk. There was a couple different reporters who mentioned, the Thunder sending Tre down to the G League showcase here last year being more of a trade showcase for other teams.
Yeah.
And I can't help but wonder. I mean, obviously, Presti is better than any GM and knowing what each of his players is worth in terms of value. If he didn't feel like the value for Tre was where it needed to be at that point, and he's kind of hoping to see that, that value meet what he thinks Tre is worth. He's not just going to give Tre up for nothing because I think he can be an extremely impactful player, as we've seen.
I agree.
All that being said, these past 2 games just make me wonder, like, does he really fit within the concept of this team, especially with so many different mouths to feed now moving forward? Anyways, these are some like big long-term thoughts we'll talk a lot about throughout the remainder of Summer League and into the offseason. But before we do that, that's way out there in the future. Silva, let's go ahead and go through the chat. I mean, unless we want to talk the next 30 minutes about Jaden Shackelford and
absolutely not.
I don't even know what the H stands for. Maldonado.
Yeah.
He got 19 minutes tonight. Good for him. 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 block. We're not going to do that. So let's go ahead and wrap this bad boy up, and we'll go through the comments and answer any comments, questions, etc.
We got an early one here from David. When will Kenny Lofton be an all-star? For me, 3 years. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, can he play against Chet every game?
G League all-star to me.
Hey, Chet kind of shut him down tonight, which was, again, they weren't guarding each other directly necessarily, but it was not the same as last year, as we mentioned.
I have a question that maybe our chat also has. Cason Wallace, when will we see him? When will we see him?
Good question. So today is the 5th. Silva and I are recording this on July 5th. July 6th, the NBA, why am I going blank on that term? That's bad. Anyways, essentially, on July 6th, those deals can officially start to go through.
The league
unless
year,
they're part of the bigger
league
deals. Year. So, essentially, right. The start of the new league year. So, I'm not saying that we'll see the Oladipo deal go through just because, that's a very complex one that could be tied up into the Dame trade. But trade like that, a trade, an acquisition like that, where that went through on draft night with the Mavericks, unless it's tied up into something bigger, like a 3-team trade or something like that, I would highly expect it to go through tomorrow on the 6th, which is also the same date that restricted free agents, we saw Tybal be able to sign that deal with is expected to sign that deal with the Mavericks, and then the 3-deal trade with Jalen Williams going to the Mavericks now as a restricted free agent. Those deals will be able to go through tomorrow, so I would expect the Cason Wallace deal to be able to go through at that point, and therefore he'll be able to play hopefully the last game Salt Lake City and also Summer League. And I think Hamidou Diallo, he was just, again, same thing for Cason. I mean, you see him over there just hanging out on the bench with Dub and with Keontae Johnson. Oh yeah. It's the same thing with I remember Hamidou, right? It was a similar situation. I think he was a 2nd round pick, obviously, but he's over there just hanging out with the team and stuff for 2-3 days, and then finally the deal's announced, and he's literally hasn't practiced and just throws on a jersey and is playing there the next day. So all that being said, very long way to say that he could either play the last game of Summer League, or I would highly expect him to play in Vegas.
I'm very much looking forward to that. As far as questions, I don't know. I don't think I've missed any. A lot of general
not on
commenting.
Duty this Summer League. I am not. Thank goodness. I got that covered. I finally, for year 3, get to go to Summer League, and I'm so excited. We'll get into that here at the end, but really excited to get to do that. You're right. There's a lot of great comments between people, which we love to see between our listeners. Let's see. Eamon mentioned Trey's play, and we talked a little bit about this. So I think they were talking about this when we were talking about Trey's play. But he said, I like Trey's play, and he usually doesn't show this in Summer League. But we need to remember that these Summer League rosters aren't the players we're building to compete with. I think that kind of goes with what you and I were talking about, that it's great to see Trey do this.
Yeah.
It's also expected for a year 3 player. And how does that look like with this current Thunder construction or Thunder roster construction?
Yeah, it's kind of like a someone has to score type of situation that Trey's in right now.
Right. Let's see. They're talking a little bit about J. Will. He's not the most athletic, but again, he's I think kind of like you and I were talking about. This is when the chat was talking about it as well. J. Will is the kind of player who it doesn't matter if it's Summer League, doesn't matter if it's the NBA, doesn't matter if it's pickup in Rutgers Park in New York in the summer off season. He's going to play the exact same way.
He's playing his game no matter what.
Let's see. Connor B, who do you want to see step up tomorrow night? I forgot we have a back-to-back.
We do.
Well, Jacob and myself and Justin will be on a plane. Hopefully we'll get to see it. Silva, who do you want to see step up tomorrow night, assuming that J-Dub doesn't play?
I want to see a big Chet scoring game, if I'm being honest. It's selfish, but we got to see it in Utah last year. I think he scored 20+ in his first game, had the step back 3 going, all kinds of stuff. I would love to see a game like that from Chet as he gets more comfortable here.
I agree with you. That's the low-hanging fruit. I'm going to go ahead and take the other low-hanging fruit, though. Since you mentioned Chet, I'm right there with you. My other one would be Usman Jang. I just want to see him get a little more comfortable in terms of aggressiveness. It would be nice to see him be able to handle the ball a little bit, especially with J-Dub out, right? Like we kind of saw in the NBL prior to him getting drafted. see him be a little more aggressive, attacking the rim and being able to absorb contact, even play make a little bit, show his playmaking chops, just taking a little more of a bigger role within the offense with all these different players out. Like I mentioned, J-Dub, and obviously you're not playing alongside the Shays, the Giddies, etc. Like see a little more of that from Us moving forward here in Summer League. So that'd be my answer.
It's a great answer.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in to the Uncontested Postgame Podcast. Uncontested Summer League Postgame. There we go.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
We greatly appreciate all the comments, and it really is super cool. Like just scrolling through there, trying to find the questions and seeing you all interacting with one another. We
cool.
really, really appreciate that. Appreciate all of you tuning in. Like we mentioned, knock on wood, pending any delays or anything like that. Myself, Jacob, Justin, Nick, we will be on the ground in Vegas for Summer League starting tomorrow night. We will have you all covered for a post Summer League game podcast, and we'll have you covered all week. We'll thankfully get to be in the Blue Wire studio like we were last year for one podcast. We'll have you covered for the Sunday night game against the Mavericks, like Sylvan and I mentioned earlier. Knock on wood, get to see Wemby live for the first time. Just a ton of fun stuff, and we're really excited to be down there. We actually have some giveaways from the Oklahoma City Thunder themselves. Very, very thankful for that opportunity and to work with the Thunder in that regard. So if you will be out there, be sure to DM us on any, like I said, Threads, Instagram, Twitter, etc. We'll be sure to meet up with you all and have a little bit of a swag bag, some stuff to give away. So thank you all again for tuning in. Thank you for my co-host Silva for joining me tonight. And as always, Thunder up.